Pay close attention. What you desire does not belong to some distant future. In imagination, it has already taken place. The moment you fully accept that inner experience as reality, time begins to organize itself to confirm your assumption. Tonight, through Neville Wisdom Library, I want to share a simple yet extraordinary method that can help reality align with what you have already accepted within. This method is so easy that anyone can practice it, yet its effect can be life-changing. Instead of waiting for your future to arrive, you will mentally step into it and look back as if everything you wanted has already happened. You will learn to remember your dreams as completed experiences, to think of your desires as fulfilled facts rather than distant possibilities. This goes beyond ordinary visualization. It is not the kind of imagination most people are familiar with. It is something much deeper. It is the deliberate creation of memory. When you learn to form memories of experiences that have not yet appeared in physical reality, you remove the distance between wanting something and living it. Are you ready to experience your future before the world reflects it? Then let's begin. First, we need to understand why so many people struggle with manifestation. Most people place their desires somewhere ahead of them. They picture success arriving one day. They imagine reaching their goals sometime in the future. They tell themselves that happiness, love, wealth, or fulfillment will come after certain events take place. They say, "When I have more money, I'll finally be happy. Once I find the right person, my life will be complete. After I get that opportunity, everything will improve." Can you see what is happening? Every time you place your desire in the future, you create distance between yourself and what you want. It always stays just beyond your reach. It's always tomorrow, never today. But tomorrow never truly arrives. Life is experienced only in this present moment. The only point where creation happens is now. If your desire always exists somewhere ahead of you, it never enters the present, where reality is actually formed. Think about the words you use. If you say, "I will become wealthy," you are silently admitting you are not wealthy now. If you say, "I will be loved," you reinforce the idea that love is currently absent. If you say, "I will succeed," you identify yourself as someone who has not succeeded yet. Your consciousness responds to who you believe you are in this moment, not who you hope to become later. If you remain identified with lacking, more lack is reflected back to you. If you live in waiting, life continues to give you reasons to wait. This explains why many people repeat affirmations or visualize for years without seeing meaningful change. They keep expecting their desires instead of accepting them as present reality. Now let me share the insight that changes everything. There is a way to bring the future into the present, and surprisingly, you do it through the feeling of the past. It may sound confusing at first, but consider this. When you remember something that happened yesterday or years ago, how does it feel? Do you hope it happened? Do you wonder if it is real? Are you anxious that it might not occur? Of course not. A memory carries certainty. It feels complete. It is finished. There is no struggle because in your mind it has already happened. Think about something you did yesterday. You don't question whether it took place. You simply know it did. It exists as an unquestioned fact within your experience. That feeling of certainty is exactly the state you want to bring to your desires. When you remember your wish as though it has already been fulfilled, when you recall your dream as if it is simply part of your personal history, you give it the feeling of completion. It becomes natural, real, and unquestioned. That inner certainty is what closes the gap between desire and manifestation. Now that you understand the principle, let me show you exactly how to apply this technique. The process is incredibly simple, but it works best when you follow it exactly. Tonight, before you fall asleep, I want you to mentally step beyond your current moment. Imagine yourself already living in the future where your desire has been fulfilled. Don't stop at the moment you receive it. Go beyond that. Place yourself at a point where your new reality has become familiar and natural. If your goal is financial freedom, don't picture the moment money arrives. Instead, imagine yourself several months later, comfortably living with abundance. If you desire a loving relationship, don't focus on meeting someone. Jump ahead to a time when the relationship has already become a normal part of your life. If success is your goal, don't imagine achieving it. Place yourself in a future where success has already been yours for quite some time. Why move beyond the moment of achievement? Because the moment of getting something still carries the feeling of reaching for it. Living after it has already happened carries the feeling of simply being. That is the state you want. Complete, settled, natural, and unquestioned. Close your eyes and mentally arrive in that future. For this exercise, accept that you are already there. Your desire is no longer a possibility. It is your present reality. You are living it. Now, from that future position, begin looking backward. Reflect on how everything unfolded. Recall the events that led to this moment. Think of your desire as something that belongs to your past rather than your future. This is where everything changes. You are no longer trying to imagine what might happen someday. You are remembering what has already happened. For example, imagine your desire is to own your dream home. Close your eyes and place yourself 6 months after moving in. You are relaxing inside your home. Living there feels completely ordinary because it has been your reality for months. Now begin remembering. Think back to the day you received the keys. Remember the excitement you felt walking through the front door for the first time. Recall your first evening in the house. Remember calling family or friends to share the wonderful news. Feel the relief, gratitude, and quiet satisfaction of knowing everything came together perfectly. Notice what you are doing. You are not projecting yourself into an uncertain future. You are building genuine memories of experiences that already belong to your personal history. The important difference is this. You are not standing in today's reality trying to look ahead. You are standing in your fulfilled future looking back. You have already arrived, and now you are remembering the journey that brought you there. That is what it means to think as though it happened yesterday. Your desire becomes an accomplished fact instead of an upcoming event. Now let me explain why this approach is often far more powerful than ordinary visualization or repeating affirmations. When you picture something as happening in the future, part of your mind recognizes that it hasn't occurred yet. That awareness naturally creates uncertainty. Somewhere in the background is the question, will this actually happen? Even with positive thinking, there remains a sense of distance between your current reality and your desired one. Memory feels completely different. A memory carries certainty. It feels real, complete, and unquestioned. You don't argue with something you clearly remember. You simply accept it as part of your experience. When you repeatedly remember your desire as already fulfilled, you communicate to your subconscious that the work is finished. Your subconscious responds to the feeling of reality more than the timeline itself. Whether the memory comes from physical experience or vivid imagination matters far less than the certainty with which it is accepted. As these imagined memories become familiar, your subconscious begins treating them as truth. From that point, it starts arranging your external life to reflect the inner reality you have accepted. New opportunities appear naturally. Unexpected conversations take place. Circumstances shift in ways you could not have predicted. Events begin connecting effortlessly because your inner assumption is no longer that you are trying to achieve something. It is that it has already been accomplished. Now, there is one final element that makes this practice even more effective, and that is the feeling you bring to it. Think about how it feels to remember something that happened yesterday. Pay attention to the quiet certainty, the calm acceptance, and the complete absence of struggle in that memory. Notice that this feeling is not intense excitement, it is not wishful thinking, and it is not anticipation. It is quiet, steady, and completely natural. It carries the simple certainty of saying, yes, that already happened. There is confidence in it, but no strain. There is reality in it, but no effort to make it feel real. It simply exists. A memory does not need to be defended or forced. It stands on its own because in your mind it is already an established fact. That is exactly the state you want to bring to your fulfilled desire. Not the thrill of waiting for something to arrive, not the hope that it might happen someday. Instead, cultivate the calm assurance that it has already become part of your life. When you mentally step into your fulfilled future and look back, allow yourself to feel the same way you feel when remembering something from yesterday. Ordinary, settled, unquestioned, and complete. A woman once came to me because she wanted a specific amount of money for the down payment on a home. For months she had been visualizing herself receiving the money, but nothing seemed to change. The longer she waited, the more discouraged she became. I told her to stop imagining the money arriving someday. Instead, I asked her to place herself 3 months beyond the fulfillment of her desire. In her imagination, she already had the money, had already made the down payment, and was comfortably living in her new home. From that future position, she began remembering the day everything came together. She recalled how the money arrived and reflected on it with the same certainty she would use when thinking about yesterday. She practiced this every evening for 2 weeks. Something unexpected happened. As she continued remembering the money as an accomplished fact, her relationship with money changed in the present. The desperation disappeared. The constant worrying faded. She felt peaceful and confident, like someone who already knew everything had worked out. Only a few weeks later, the exact amount she needed came through a source she had never imagined. An aunt she rarely spoke with contacted her and offered the money as an early inheritance. It arrived naturally and effortlessly, almost as though it had always been hers, and she had simply awakened to that truth. Now consider something even deeper. When you remember your future as though it were your past, you begin to dissolve the sense of time separating you from your desire. Time is not as fixed as it appears. Consciousness is not limited by a straight line from past to future. It can occupy any point in experience. When you create a memory of an event that has not yet appeared physically, you signal to consciousness that, from your perspective, it is already complete. As a result, the apparent distance between now and fulfillment begins to disappear. From where you stand today, 3 months may seem like a long wait. But when you mentally place yourself 3 months ahead and look back, those months become yesterday. They become history. They become something already finished. Once your consciousness accepts completion, the outer world begins organizing itself to reflect that inner acceptance. Situations that once seemed impossible can unfold with surprising speed. What appeared to require months may happen in days, because the state has already been accepted within. This is not about performing magic. It is about understanding the nature of consciousness. Consciousness is not trapped inside linear time. It can experience fulfillment first and allow physical reality to follow. By placing yourself mentally at the end and remembering backward, you shorten the journey into a single realization. Here is a simple practice you can use every day. Each morning, before leaving your bed, spend a couple of minutes stepping into your fulfilled future. From there, remember how everything unfolded. Recall it with the same ease and certainty you would use when remembering yesterday. During the day, whenever thoughts about your desire appear, avoid thinking ahead toward it. Instead, shift your perspective. If you notice yourself saying, "I hope this happens," gently replace that thought with, "I remember when this happened. Everything worked out beautifully." Then, before falling asleep each night, repeat the full exercise. Place yourself in your fulfilled future. Experience life as someone whose desire has already become normal. From that position, create rich, detailed memories of how it all unfolded. Drift off to sleep with the feeling of remembering, never with the feeling of wanting. Practice consistently. This teaches your consciousness to live from fulfillment itself. You are no longer reaching for the end. You are remembering that the end has already been achieved. For example, if your desire is financial abundance, you might naturally think, "I remember when that money arrived. I can still remember the relief I felt. I remember sharing the good news with my sister and how satisfying it was to clear those bills. It all feels like it happened yesterday." If your desire is love, you might remember, "I still remember the day we met. I remember our first conversation and the moment I realized this relationship was exactly what I had been longing for. I remember telling my friends about it as though it had only happened yesterday." The same principle applies to every desire, including success. You might remember it like this: "I still remember the day I received that promotion. I can picture my manager calling me into the office. I remember the pride and satisfaction I felt afterward. I remember sharing the news with my family. It's amazing how quickly those 6 months have passed." For health, your memory could sound like this: "I remember when my body finally began to heal. I remember my doctor's reaction to the test results. I remember my strength and energy returning little by little. I remember smiling to myself because deep down I always knew this day would come. Looking back, that was the moment everything changed." Pay attention to the way you are thinking. You are not wishing. You are not trying to convince yourself. You are not imagining something that may happen one day. You are remembering something that already belongs to your experience. That is how you mentally step into your fulfilled future and think as though it all happened yesterday. As you continue practicing this method, something remarkable begins to change. You stop obsessing over how your desire will arrive. You stop trying to map out every step or force every outcome. The struggle gradually disappears. Why? Because when you remember something, you never question the process that brought it about. You simply accept that it happened. The details no longer matter because the result already exists in your experience. This is true detachment. It does not mean giving up on your desire. It means releasing your attachment to the path while remaining completely certain about the outcome. You are living from the state where everything has already been completed. When you no longer cling to how, life has endless ways of bringing your desire into physical reality. Events begin connecting naturally. Opportunities appear at the right moments. The perfect sequence unfolds without unnecessary effort, often in ways your logical mind could never have predicted. I once spoke with a man who dreamed of starting his own business. He had no investment, no influential contacts, and no clear plan. Every time he thought about his goal, he became overwhelmed by everything standing in his way. I encourage him to stop focusing on the obstacles and instead remember his success. Each night, he imagined himself 1 year into the future, where his business was already thriving. From that fulfilled position, he looked back and remembered how everything had unfolded. As he practiced, his mindset completely changed. The anxiety about finding the right path disappeared. He stopped seeing impossible barriers everywhere. Instead, he carried a quiet certainty that his successful business already existed because in his imagination it was simply part of his past. Within a few months, unexpected opportunities began appearing. A former co-worker offered financial support. A chance introduction led to his first major client. Resources and connections came from places he had never considered. The path seemed to build itself because he was no longer trying to force it into existence. He was remembering it as something that had already been completed. Now let me leave you with the deepest insight behind this practice. When you mentally step into your fulfilled future and remember it as your past, you are not actually traveling through time. You are recognizing that within consciousness, past, present, and future exist together. Your desire is not waiting somewhere ahead to be created. It already exists as a possibility within consciousness. When you remember it as accomplished, you are not inventing a fantasy. You are aligning yourself with a reality that already exists at the level where all creation begins. That is why this method is so powerful. You are not pretending. You are not forcing belief. You are simply accepting what already exists in consciousness. Your desire is already complete there. It is already finished. Consciousness recognizes no delay, and since consciousness is the source from which reality unfolds, your outer world gradually reflects the state you have accepted within. So tonight, before you fall asleep, choose one desire, only one. Close your eyes and place yourself several months into the future, or even a year ahead, if that feels more natural. Experience a moment where your wish has already become your everyday life. Then begin remembering. Recall the day it happened. Remember how you felt. Remember what you said, what you did, and how your life changed afterward. Make those memories as vivid and effortless as remembering yesterday. Allow yourself to drift off to sleep while resting in that feeling of quiet certainty. Let the final impression on your mind be, it already happened. Continue this practice every evening. During the day, whenever your desire comes to mind, don't think about when it will happen. Think from the place where it has already happened. Remember it. Recall it. Treat it like a completed chapter of your life. That is the practice. That is how you move beyond the illusion of waiting. That is how you allow your inner reality to lead your outer experience.